My name is Govan. Welcome to my assessment 2. This video will be about disability and inclusion and how it is depicted in the media, specifically in the movie Wonder. So what is disability? The World Health Organization described the term disability as an umbrella term that covers impairments, activity limitations and participation restrictions. When looking at the movie Wonder, Augie's facial deformity is most closely linked to a physical disability, which leads to many social problems and exclusion. So what is inclusion? Inclusion is about accepting people no matter their personal or physical characteristics. Inclusion and disability are quite closely linked. In the last decade or more, schools especially are trying to break down barriers for students with disabilities to promote inclusion. So how does the general media depict disability and inclusion? Bagliero and Shapiro propose that attitudes towards disability are formed early in life and from influences such as school and the media. In the mainstream media, such as movies and television, there has been much debate about the representation of diverse people and disabilities. Govan and Newell speak about disabilities. We are underrepresented in theatre, film and media industries. Limited representations of these people in public media only adds to their exclusion in society. While there is still a long way to go with the way mainstream media represents disability, the movie Wonder is one piece of public media that is a really important stepping stone to promoting diversity and inclusion. As mentioned, Wonder is about a little 10-year-old boy who was born with a facial deformity called Collins syndrome. Augie is starting mainstream school for the first time, and the audience are taken on a journey of what it is like to have a disability and encounter inclusion and exclusion. The movie presents a balanced and realistic view of disability. The audience are given an insight into the characters of Jack and Via as well as Augie, which provides a realistic view of someone's life with a disability. When the audience look at Augie's life from Via's perspective, they are shown how hard it is to have a sibling that demands so much attention due to their disability or deformity, often feeling lonely and excluded themselves. Jack's perspective similarly shows how sometimes inclusion can be a real challenge. The purpose of the movie is to promote kindness and to not judge a book by its cover, especially those with disabilities or deformities. As much research supports, those with disabilities are much more likely to face barriers that prevent their inclusion in society and school. Augie's facial deformity creates barriers to making friends, creating a lot of social isolation for him. Augie narrates to the camera, "Everyone makes the same face when they see me," and that ordinary kids don't make other kids run away from them at playgrounds. It is evident that Augie feels as though his face prevents him from making friends. Augie's impairment is depicted as though no one should treat him differently because of it. Augie says, "I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old, but I do ordinary things," before listing off things such as play Minecraft. This scene influences the audience to reevaluate the way they've ever treated someone who looks different or has a disability without getting to know them. Foreman and Arthur Kelly propose that often those with physical disabilities are stereotyped to have other disabilities or they're stereotyped inaccurately. Wonder supports this by demonstrating Augie being stereotyped in various ways. Students at Augie's school often assume that because his face looks different, he must be contagious, or if you touch him you'd get the plague. Questions about Augie's condition are also displayed throughout the movie, such as, "Do you eat special food?" These often cruel or incorrect stereotypes influence the audience to in future seek out accurate information about someone's disability and to stop stereotyping people before they know them. The language in the movie really shows the audience how people like Augie are spoken to. Common words used to describe Augie's face are ugly, freak, golem, Frankenstein, weird, contagious. Research shows that most people with a disability prefer language that emphasise the principle of people first, disability second. All these words listed to describe Augie have negative connotations and in no way show Augie's caring, funny and intelligent personality, only focus on his disability. This language shows how quickly people in the movie, and hence society, are to judge people with physical differences or disabilities. Another really significant word in the movie is ordinary. As mentioned earlier, the opening line of the movie is, "I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old, while the movie finishes with, "No one's ordinary." The contrast of using this word ordinary at the beginning and at the end of the movie challenges the audience to rethink the way they use the word. Wonder is a very useful and accurate representation of how physical disabilities and deformities affect those with them, as well as how the community around them either excludes or includes them. So, life lesson 1, the influence of adults in their children's formation of attitudes. Baglieri and Shapiro pose that attitudes are acquired through observational learning, whereby a child observes surrounding behaviours and influences. This is shown through Jack and Julian and how their parents behaved. The audience see Jack's mother talking with kindness and care in her voice about Augie, demonstrating positive values about those with disabilities. As the film progresses, Jack's treatment of Augie is kind and they become good friends, mirroring his mother's values. In the case of Julian, throughout the movie he bullies Augie. Later in the movie we meet Julian's parents, whose attitude towards Augie is completely different to that of Jack's mother earlier. Julian's mother admits to photoshopping Augie out of the school picture and says that children are too young to be dealing with this sort of thing, in reference to Augie. The parallels between Jack and his mother and Julian and his mother truly depict an accurate representation of how children learn from their parents' attitudes, especially when it comes to inclusion. The movie also depicts a really important angle on teachers and educators in schools and their role in promoting inclusion. Both the principal, Mr. Tushman, and his classroom teacher, Mr. Petosa, show the audience how educators should act to students with disabilities. The principal, upon meeting Augie, makes him feel immediately welcome. Throughout the movie, he takes appropriate actions when Augie is bullied, saying to the parents of Julian, "Augie can't change the way he looks, but we can change the way we see." Augie's teacher is also supportive of Augie, not treating him differently from the rest of the class. He continues to support Augie, at one point offering his help, saying, "You are not alone." Carton 2008 quotes Burke 2004, "It is a teacher's attitude that will determine the success of students with disabilities." This is truly accurate in Wonder, shown by the actions and attitudes of the teachers and how it impacts Augie's life. The second important life lesson that we can take from Wonder is the importance and impact of kindness. The movie depicts a really wholesome view of how being kind to others despite their disability positively affects their life. Through Jack, Summer and others treating Augie with respect, his demeanour changes and his enthusiasm for school improves. However, on the occasion that Jack betrays him and speaks poorly of Augie, he retreats back to negative thoughts, completely devastated and lacking confidence. It is evident that Augie's self-confidence is positively impacted when others treat him with respect. Baglieri and Shapiro 2012 cite Brodking and Coleman 1993. Children who are victims of prejudice experience damage to his or her self-worth and confidence. So, how effective is Wonder at portraying an accurate depiction of disability and inclusion? Extremely effective. It presents a non-biased point of view. The movie correlates with recent research about disability and the challenges of inclusion. It depicts Augie's outlook and how it influences the viewers. It promotes kindness and an open mind, a holistic view of disability, and makes the audience readjust their attitudes about disability and inclusion. I highly recommend the movie and believe anyone who watches it will be more informed about how to be more of an inclusive, kind person. Thanks for watching, and below are my references used for both the information and the images within the presentation.